Hey everyone, welcome back to another exciting episode of Attack Productions. Today I'm Bancroft, being joined once again by Jimmy, Scotty, and like always, Fluff.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hello.
What's up, people?
And like always, we have a matchup for you all. Today's matchup is Xeno Gogeta versus King Vegeta. With that being said, there are buttons. They're everywhere. Down below. Click them. Awesome. Alright, with that being said, Scotty, you are playing Xeno Gogeta. James could not make it, so we'll kind of be talking about King Vegeta. He does have an early misplay, which we'll kind of cover, and his thought process of playing that card and whatnot, and what happened there. But outside that, hope you all enjoy.
So yeah, like Bancroft said, I'm playing Xeno Gogeta. I know it's been shown on the channel a lot, thanks to Fluff. This is my version of Xeno Gogeta. It's a little different. I don't run Thwarting the Dark Empire Gogeta. I don't have them. So I have thrown in a couple of different Mass Saiyans, different Bardoks that I really like using in the deck. Really, I think helps me as a player. And I've really grown to kind of love Xeno Gogeta. I played Gogeta way back in set 5 and set 7. I was a big fan of 7-drop Big Boy Gogeta. And to finally
everybody else, bud.
Yeah, well, you know, I was a major fan. I didn't think he should get banned. Long live the Undead King. You know, and it's nice to have a regular form Super Saiyan Gogeta, so to speak, back in the game that I've enjoyed playing. I did not enjoy the Pycon blue deck from the last set. I've enjoyed Gogeta Xeno. So, yeah.
So,
here we go.
James's turn 1, he charged a card pass, going off Young Invaders. Ability to play a Saiyan on Scotty's board. Sorry, a Saiyan U. Is that what that's right? It's like Saiyan U for something like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
with 500 power, I think.
Yes.
The second part to that auto is that for the rest of the turn, you can only play red Saiyan cards. So, even though he didn't do it right here, I think he does it on Scotty's attack. But James will play a card he shouldn't be able to play. And Fluff,
I believe he has it in hand right now.
He does. Yeah.
It is the 3-drop. It's a 3-drop Bardock. You'll see it. We'll call it out once it's played.
Yeah. James had never played this deck before and had asked to for me to throw a version of this deck together, and we're still amassing all the promos required for this deck. Like, we've got the switching gear Vegeta, we've got the required Raditz, but we don't have the Bardoks. So you'll kind of know, like, the 1-drop Bardoks. You'll see how that kind of changes his. There you see him play the 3-drop Bardock, and he just didn't realize that you couldn't play a non-red Saiyan card for the duration of the turn after you activate the auto on Young Invaders. So
that card's inclusion, we talked about it a little bit earlier. While it is not fantastic to play off of your own skills, it's a fantastic inclusion if you don't have a better option. Where a lot of decks have their own, like, self-awakening or abilities to pick up their own life, that you can just play the Bardock out as a punishment for that, and it gives you some value off of the value they're getting off of their life.
yeah, it's really strong against a lot of decks in the format right now.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, punishing your opponent for activating their self-awaken, even if you choose to not do the invader skill, you know, especially at later stages of the game where you might be up against like Mega Frieza, and you know that they're going to strike a life to do something. Those Bardoks are pretty much always live in that matchup.
Yeah, I always threw in a couple Bardoks in my sideboard in case of a Mecha Frieza matchup, just due to how much pressure it can put, since Mecha Frieza uses its life as such a resource that putting in a double striker that you really can't negate becomes immensely valuable.
Yeah, super good in that matchup. Probably not as great against Gogeta, but can absolutely put in some pressure there too.
Mm.
And unfortunately, due to that misplay, it does cost Scotty 2 extra cards in his hand, and it looks like James isn't pulling the necessary, I guess, 3 drops that he needs, right, to go into the because you can use your opponent's saying you've cards to evolve or to free play the 3 drops, right?
Yeah, so he's got the Raditz and Vegeta on his opponent's side of the field. He has 10 total targets in deck to be able to play off those. So just not having them is just a stroke of bad luck, really. I mean, that's it mathematically he should have one of his targets by now, but the fact that he doesn't it's just bad luck.
So, Scotty, you're just doing the basic Gogeta stuff, building up the drop area, activating the Kai.
Yeah.
And that Pycon is just ridiculous. And if I remember correctly, the Pycon says that says black battle cards only for the buff.
Yeah, believe
Yes.
it's black 1-drop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's black 1-drops. Yes.
I was gonna say, how fantastic would it be to buff the Vegeta and Raditz? And just start
Honestly,
swinging in?
I'm gonna say this because I had to look at it. At first I was like, oh wait, yeah, that'd be great, and then I'm like, oh no, it has to be like black battle cards, and it's just such a good card.
I think there's a turn later on where you have a 2-drop on board and you do the +1, but you only put the marker on your 1-drop. So like, we will see that interaction
that is
later.
correct. Mm-hmm.
So getting out of the blocker, I mean, King Vegeta or James managed to put you down to 4 life pretty quickly with those 2 extra battle cards, which actually helps him out a lot because he can actually awaken as well now.
Right.
Which is such a
It's
good
one of the
thing.
really it's one of the really powerful things about King Vegeta. Being able to awaken when your opponent hits 4 life
And not
lets you
just
play
that.
the game much more defensively.
And not just that, but
So-
you don't go down to 4, you go down to 5.
Yeah. So it really lets you play the game a little more loose than most other leaders that need to get down to 4 to awaken. So you can go, you can prevent your opponent from doing damage. Let your opponent take themselves to 4 or get them to 4. Add 3 cards to your hand when you awaken and just awaken. And it's almost like setting the game way back for having done that.
And here, Scotty, you played both the blockers and then built up enough cards in your drop to overwhelm.
Correct. So what I did was I played the blocker, pulled out the Goku and Vegeta from the warp, loading my drop, played another one to load them again into the drop, and then overwhelm so that I could take those back into my drop, put them into my warp, that I could go into a big boy Gogeta later on. But it also gave me a little protection because I don't believe I saw... I think at this point I had already milled 2 super combos, or 1 and 2 of my negates as well.
I believe one of your super combos was hit off of the turn 1 Raditz, which is always demoralizing watching your critic life be something valuable.
Yeah.
You've
Again,
only
that
lost 1
happens-
super combo.
Is it 1 super combo? Then yeah. So it was 1 super combo, but I know at least 1 power burst was gone as well, and I only run 3 power bursts.
I've had games with Black Gogeta where your first 2 turns of bursting sends like 3 of your super combos to warp, and they're just gone after that. Like the deck can't really afford the space to play some recovery cards and things like that. So you kind of have to make do with it. And the deck is really aggressive enough and can apply enough of pressure that even if you don't have them, it's not the end of the world. Which is a really nice point about the deck. There's not many decks that you can say that about.
And this is where we were talking about earlier, where I +1 on the Pycon and only gave it to the Goku because he was my only target available. But this is what we had talked about earlier.
Yeah.
And that Goku is just really good. I love that Goku.
So
Catastrophic Premonition is just fantastic.
It's a great card. Great card.
So I'm not sure what happened there, top of my head, but looks like you were going to go attack with the Goku, but you stopped yourself.
He's under Violent Rays currently.
But the Goku's only
And the Goku
15k right now.
He's setting at 25,000 off of the buff of the leader, and then
Oh,
buff
you
of
leader
Icon.
buffed it too. Okay, I missed that part. Okay.
I
So I want to point this out to you, Scotty. That negate is a really nice negate, where it kind of like if you continue swinging, the cards take you minus 5,000 power.
I don't think I'm actually gonna say something. I did not plus him off the leader. I don't believe I did. I kept him right at 15,000 because I knew he might have another violent raise.
But
I only plussed him from the Pycon. I don't think I plussed him by the leader that turn.
Don't you have to pick up a life to buff
have
off
to-
the leader?
Yeah, you have to pick up a life to buff
Yeah,
off leader.
you did pick up off the
Did
life.
I do it?
Yes.
Okay, there was one turn where I only plussed him from the Pycon, and I believe that's how I won the game because I went in all in with that Goku.
Against red, you really want to try to keep your 1-drops at 15,000.
Yeah.
You don't want to bump them up to 20,000 because Violent Ray sucks in this matchup. Where, if you do boost your 1-drops up and they're all 20,000 and your opponent Violent Rays, you've just taken a life. You've helped your opponent kill you. You're theoretically near tapped out and low on defense, and it's easier for an opponent to kill on the crackback. Whereas if you leave everything at 15 and then combo up from there, or force them to spend their energy to where they're tapped out, then use the leader effect to finish off the pressure. But you never want to use that leader effect until you know for sure they can't Violent Ray you or put you under something like Flying Nimbus or Dormant Potential.
And I want to point out real quick, is it opposing presence?
Yeah.
When you swing with a battle card, it loses 5,000 power. You could have swung with the same youth cards and killed them off. But I'm not sure what your experience was with King Vegeta, though, and if you had an opportunity to play against a deck like this and knew that he could use those later on the road to kind of accelerate his chains.
So I had actually never played against King Vegeta. So I didn't even. It was a shock to me when he played him on my field, and I had to crit a life like that.
Yeah,
like right off the rip. It definitely threw me off for sure. So I was kind of learning as I was playing and everything. So it was just a mistake on my end.
I find King Vegeta to be a very interesting matchup, where if you had the hand set up where you can play against the 3-drops into the 5-drop and all of those cards, that you don't have to worry about the cards being played on your end. They can just sit there and you allow your opponent to use them. And then if you're in a situation where you don't have the cards to deal with the 3-drops, you could spend your energy on removing the the Vegeta and Raditz off of your end to lock your opponent out of playing their cards without for free. They would have to spend more energy to put the 1-drops on their field and then activate main on the 3-drops. So it's been a very interesting matchup, and it's been a very fun matchup to learn, at least for me. I really enjoy playing against King Vegeta.
I remember the first time I played against it was Nick's, and he's like imposing presence. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna swing with your battle cards at you. He's like, oh, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really counterintuitive for the deck. Putting your opponent under an effect that lets them freely get rid of everything on their side that you've given them to set up your further plays.
I mean, that's a good give and take for the card. Like, it's such a fantastic counter, but it also kind of puts you in a bad position if you're really relying on that. You have to metagame yourself to play that card, and I really like it.
Yeah, I really like that card.
I would like to see more cards designed around the idea of the give and take versus just pure value getting to play off, as we've seen with previous negates that we don't talk about here.
I really like negates like that and like Topo that don't just auto end the turn, that give your opponent the opportunity to, if they want to take that challenge and still try to push for game, it puts the odds in your favor still.
Yeah.
I really like designs like that. I would much prefer something like that over, Violent Ray or Dormant Potential.
So I want to touch base on this real quick on this field card. I saw a post on Facebook where if you don't use the auto, you still have to shuffle because of the way it's worded. It's a start of your opponent's turn, play a saying you 500 power card, then shuffle your deck. And they said if I don't play a card, do I still have to do it? And it's like technically you're supposed to still shuffle your deck.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't shuffle his deck. I just want to call that out. If that is how the wording is supposed to be, where regardless every turn you shuffle your deck just because, he didn't shuffle it then.
The deck doesn't do any stacking, so it really doesn't matter. But yeah, I mean, if it is worded that way, definitely make sure that you're shuffling the deck at the start of each turn. And I don't know how many times playing King Vegeta, I've actually just forgot about Young Invaders in later turns. And I'm like sitting halfway through my opponent's turn, and I'm like, oh, I have this card in hand. I could on the field. I could have totally done that.
Let's see here. Auto, if your leader is King Vegeta, at the start of your opponent's turn, play one Saiyan card 500 power from your deck to your opponent's value, then shuffle your deck. Yeah. So it's not if you do shuffle your deck, it's then shuffle your deck.
So I looked up a card with a very similar effect. This is tied to the activate main of Shroom Ritual at Hand. Activate main, 1 black energy if you lead a card, Mechamora, blah, blah, blah. Place up to 2 Dark Dragon Balls from your deck in your drop area, shuffle your deck if you looked through it. So that puts the clause of if you look through the deck, you have to. If not, you can just pay 1 energy and play the card. Saying that Young Invaders does not say if you look through it, then I assume that means
Shuffle your deck.
Shuffle the deck no matter what.
Yeah. It's the playing the card based on its wording, whether intended to be that way, is not a prerequisite for the deck shuffle.
Yeah.
So basically, if you're playing King Vegeta, be on the lookout to shuffle your deck at the end of each of your turns. And that's probably a good idea anyway, just so you don't forget the Young Invader effect.
Mm-hmm. So,
Now,
yes, Skeppy?
So you'll notice, I got to play one of my favorite cards in the deck, which is the Gogeta, the 6-drop, where you play him with the Union Fusion. I played him off of 1 energy to Union Fusion, and then swung with him. It got stopped. But then I'm able to activate for another energy to basically pop him and bring back some 1-drops to the field. And I absolutely love that card. I think it's great.
Is it 1-drops?
Yes.
It's 1-drop.
Okay. I just want to point out, I just caught this. That's a 2-drop.
Did you play a super combo? Yeah, you can't play the super combo with that effect. Yeah. His effect you can't play super combos with.
I don't think it changes the results after I watch this video, but
no, I don't think it does.
It doesn't. Because I think the card I ended up winning with is the Goku.
18 minutes in, Scotty. Come on now. You could have held out for another 2 minutes.
So correction, it's activate main once per turn, place up to 1 Son Goku Xeno with an energy cost of 5,000 power, and 1 Xeno Vegeta with 5,000 power.
Oh, never mind.
So that Vegeta, I think, is a 10k, if I remember correctly.
No, he's a 5K.
No, he's a 5K. Yeah.
Yeah, never mind.
Wow. Is that really the wording on that card?
Yeah.
Which
Holy
shit. Wait, hold on. Wait a second. I'm talking about Marvelous Might. If it is Marvelous
Might. I'm reading Martial Melee, and I was reading the wrong part of Martial Melee.
Okay.
Yeah. So yes, it is a misplay. It should have been a 1-drop. I realize this now. I should have played the.
I was about to be real mad at myself because I played this deck a lot, and I'm like, holy crap! You can play the super combo off that?
Yeah, it is 1-drops for Marvelous Might.
Yeah.
And I was also reading Martial Melee wrong. Those cards go to the drop area to restand him. So
yes,
ignore everything I just said.
That's our judge for you.
Well, if I knew what cards I was supposed to be reading, I wouldn't mess up. You know?
Oh, for sure.
Marvelous Might is hands down, I think, the the key centerpiece to this Gogeta deck. Like, it is the deck that is the aggro enabler. Like, as good as Martial Melee and Thwarting the Dark Empire are, Marvelous Might is still heads and tails better than either of them. Like, as far as I'm concerned, Martial Melee, I only ever really played off of the Pycon effect. I never tapped the energy to Union Fusion for him, but Marvelous Might is in every game. Like, that is the bread and butter of this deck.
And
Yes.
I want to point real quick, the draws that James just got off that super combo were probably the worst draws he could have gotten for this turn.
Yep.
A Unison and I think a +1 to combo with. I think, is the 5-drop +1 to combo with?
No, it should be a 5,000.
Okay.
No, well, it might be, but I think it's a 5,000 off the top of my head.
But I mean, 2 Unisons. Looks like he has a Mercenary Tau, the 5-drop Vegeta, and the free played Piccolo. If he could have a Unison on board. And Scotty's just going with Double Strike, which has already been boosted, I think, both by the leader and the Unison as well.
No, just the leader, I think.
Oh, you took damage last turn? Okay, yeah.
Because I was at 2 life and he violent raided me already.
Yes.
So I was just going in at this point with the double striker. I mean, it's such a good card.
Yeah. And see, like,
And
you didn't use
I'm just
the
like-
super combo on the field, so it's all good.
Yeah. And I will be the first to admit, I have gotten confused over the Vegetas in the deck a lot of times. It's just like, I think I'm grabbing one, and I just got to be more careful about that. I apologize, everyone.
Scotty, big cheater. James won this round retroactively.
Sure. Well, yeah. Kudos, Scotty. That's today's matchup. Hope you all enjoyed that. Keep in mind, earlier, there's buttons right below you. Click them. They're there for a reason. And while Fluff closes out today's video, keep in mind, on the screen, there's more stuff for you to check out. Fluff.
As always, people, Gogeta is my favorite deck. It's so good. Let's give another round of hands. Scotty, read your cards, know your plays. Let us make the mistakes so that you don't have to. Don't crucify us for the mistakes. It happens. Shit happens. Fluff out.